Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching. I'm Courtney, owner and designer of Wreath in Hand. We're going to get started making our wreath. I'm going to start by cutting our fine weave deco poly mesh. I'm going to be cutting 12 pieces at 20 inches, and I'm going to be using my self-healing cutting mat and my rotary cutter. I finished cutting my mesh, and y'all, this mesh is so nice. Like, it just cuts so smoothly, and it really, like, this mesh is supposed to not fray like at all, and I gotta say I don't see any fray. So if you are a beginner, I highly recommend this because, you know, fraying mesh can be really frustrating. It is pricier, but totally worth it. So the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to cut our ribbon tails. The first ribbon I'm going to use is this black 1.5 lace edged ribbon. I'm going to cut 12 pieces at 13 inches. And the second ribbon I'm going to be using with it is this very pretty, is this toile? I'm not really sure. Let me know what kind of pattern is this, but it's a 2-inch, how big is this? Yeah, it's a 2-inch ribbon. I'm going to be cutting both ribbons at 13 inches, and I'm going to cut 12 pieces of each. I finished cutting my ribbon, so now that we have that done, we're going to go ahead and wire up our 14-inch frame. I'm going to be using 12 chenille stems, and I'm going to go across each one of the cross frames on top. So I'm just going to go between the top two, and then I'm going to give it, I like to secure it on the topmost ring. So you have these two, so I like to secure it there. And then in between them, I'm going to go in the middle on the bottom. And again, I'll tighten it across along the uppermost ring. And I'll do that around the whole wreath frame. Here is what the wreath frame looks like all wired up. Now that we have our mesh cut and our ribbon cut, we're going to go ahead and add it into the frame. We're going to start with the bottom part first, and I'm just going to ruffle my mesh. I'm just going to scrunch it all forward. This mesh is really, really nice. Definitely some of the nicest mesh I've ever used. So that's what it looks like. If it's a little off, you can fix it. I'm not going to untwist the tie from the frame. I'm just going to put it right on top, and I'm going to give it 1 or 2 twists because we're going to add the ribbon in. And then I'm going to overlap the mesh on top of each other so it kind of makes like a flower. And then kind of fold it down a little on the edges. And if you need to adjust it, you can. So that's essentially what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of them only onto the 6 on the bottom, and then when we're done with that, we'll start adding the ribbon in. Here is what the bottom layer looks like with just the mesh on. Now we're going to go back in and add our ribbon tails. I'm going to layer the smaller ribbon on top of the bigger one, and I'm just going to fold it in half to find the middle point, and then fold it in half. This time I'm going to untwist the chenille stem, and I'm going to place it right on top. You can put it, you don't have to untwist it. I just like to do that. I think it holds it down better. And then I'm going to give it quite a few twists, and I'm going to snip off the chenille stem. And then I'm going to tuck the nub behind the ribbon, and then you can fluff out your ribbon. And then that's what it should look like. I'm going to go ahead and add the rest onto the bottom layer, and then we'll move on to the top. Now that we finished adding the ribbon and the mesh to the bottom part of the frame, we're going to add the mesh onto the top part. We're just going to do the same thing we did as the bottom. I'm going to do ruffles again. And then if you do have any fray, I'm not even sure if this is fray or if I just didn't cut it all the way through. I'm going to place it right on top. You can also add your ribbon at the same time, but it's hard for me to hold all of that, like the bundle together, so I don't do that. But whatever works better for you. And then I'm going to make my little flower, just overlapping it. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. I would be more than happy then to help you out. So now that once I have all of the mesh added, I'm going to go back just like on the bottom, do the same thing and add the ribbon onto it as well. I finished prepping our sign. I just added 2 Chanel stems and I stapled them because my sign is thick enough and it's not going to poke through. And then I just glued it down to secure it. And now we are going to make our bow. I'm going to be using these 3 ribbons. I'm going to start with this ribbon and I'm going to make a 7-inch tail and a 5.5-inch loop. The next ribbon I'm using is this 1.5 solid black ribbon, and I'm going to make a 7-inch tail and then a 5-inch loop. The next ribbon I'm adding is this striped 1.5-inch ribbon. This one's really thick too. For this one, I'm going to do the same, a 7-inch tail, and then I'm going to go down to 4.5-inch loop on each side. I just want to thank you so much for watching, and if you've made it this far, pop a smiley face emoji or your favorite emoji. If you would like to see more videos like this, please subscribe, like this video. I really appreciate it. It supports me very much in ways you would never know, and I really appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos. Now that I'm done making my bow, I'm gonna slide it off of the bow maker, and I'm going to use a zip tie to secure it. And then I'm also going to use a Chanel stem. I'm just going to slip it in between the zip tie and then pull it tight. And that's how we will attach it onto the wreath. Now that I finished adding the sign and the bow, I want to add some embellishments. I have these. This was honestly kind of hard to color match. It's not white. Like maybe the sign might be like an off-white, but it's like kind of cream, ivory, whitish. Like it's kind of hard to find a good color to go with it. And when I tried green, I didn't like it. And the black I felt like got lost. So I do have these. I think these are the best to go with it. I got these at Hobby Lobby during their 90% off Christmas clearance. So they literally were like 29 cents. So I grabbed a few of these. I think I grabbed what they had actually. So I pre-laid out where I want to put it, and I'm going to use hot glue to glue it in. And I also leave like a stem so that it has something to insert into the mesh. Here is the wreath all finished. It came out so beautiful. This is my first time making like an all black and white-ish wreath, and I really love how it came out. I think it's so pretty. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. This wreath is headed to my craft show, but if it does not sell, then I will definitely be putting it in my Etsy shop. This is a pancake style wreath, so it's a thin wreath. And if you would like to see more videos, check out my playlist down in the description, and please subscribe. I really appreciate it. It helps me out. See you next time.